Warriors, welcome back to Gods of Alliance. If you're here, it means you want power, knowledge, and control over the battlefield. This is not luck. This is strategy. Let's break the game together. And before we begin, if these guides, tests, and team ideas are helping you improve your account, leave a like and subscribe to Gods of Alliance. Your support helps our team continue testing, comparing, and bringing you more strategies every week. Now, today, we're doing something a little different. Instead of focusing on one hero, one build, or one mechanic, I'm going to show you 5 of my best attack teams right now. These are teams that, with my current heroes, development, and testing, are giving me some of my best results on offense. But remember that word, attack. We're not claiming these are 5 unbeatable defensive teams. We're looking at compositions I can actively use against the correct opponents, where I can choose the matchup and take advantage of what each lineup does best. So first, let's quickly meet all 5 teams, and after that, we'll take them directly into battle. Our first team is Electra, Kayla, Crow, Guus, and Aidan. This is an extremely aggressive composition. Electra helps create disruption and pressure, while Kayla gives us explosive physical offense. Crow adds another dangerous layer to the fight. Guus supports the team while contributing his own impact, and Aidan gives this aggressive structure the sustain it needs. The idea is simple. Create pressure quickly, and never allow the opponent to become comfortable. Our second team is Electra, Tempus, Guus, Iris, and Aidan. Here we move away from Kayla and introduce a very different damage profile. Tempus helps control the rhythm of the fight, while Iris gives us one of the most dangerous sources of sustained pressure. Electra and Guus help create the environment around them, and Aidan once again provides the sustain necessary to let the composition develop. This team can become extremely uncomfortable for opponents that rely heavily on surviving behind strong defensive structures. Our third team is Satori, Byrna, Tempus, Folio, and Phobos. Now we're entering a completely different style. This team has multiple magical threats, control, and several heroes that the opponent simply cannot afford to ignore. Satori can become lethal if given the opportunity to develop his pressure. Folio brings another major damage threat. Phobos interferes with dangerous enemies, while Byrna and Tempus help bring the entire structure together. This team is less about immediate chaos and more about taking control of the battle until the damage becomes overwhelming. Our fourth team is Cleaver, Kayla, Peech, Kendle, and Aidan, and Warriors. This one is particularly interesting because we're still not looking at its final form. Cleaver provides the front line and can disrupt enemy positioning. Kayla immediately brings aggressive pressure. Peech adds another piece we're continuing to explore. Kendle gives us another serious damage dealer, and Aidan helps keep this extremely aggressive composition alive. There's a lot happening here, and potentially even more coming very soon. Finally, our fifth team is Electra, Guus, Folio, Kendle, and Aidan. Here we're combining 2 dangerous offensive threats in Folio and Kendle while surrounding them with protection, support, and disruption. Electra helps control the battle. Guus contributes to the team's stability, and Aidan provides additional sustain. This is another team where the opponent cannot simply focus on stopping one damage dealer. Stop one threat, and another one is waiting. Now that we've met all 5 teams, let's see what actually happens when we take them into battle. Starting with our first composition, Electra, Kayla, Crow, Guus, and Aidan. Watch how much pressure this team can create. Kayla is one of the central pieces here because we want her aggressively attacking the enemy formation instead of sitting safely behind our front line. That naturally creates risk, but that's exactly why the rest of the composition matters. Electra creates additional disruption and makes it harder for the opponent to execute everything cleanly. Crow adds his own pressure and interaction into the fight. Guus helps strengthen the overall structure. And then we have Aidan. Aidan becomes extremely important because aggressive heroes need time to keep applying that pressure. Instead of building a composition where everything depends on Kayla surviving alone, we're creating an environment where she can attack while the rest of the team continues working around her. And when this team gets momentum, you can see how quickly the enemy starts losing control of the battle. Now let's move to team number 2, Electra, Tempus, Guus, Iris, and Aidan. This looks similar at first because we're keeping Electra, Guus, and Aidan, but replacing the other pieces completely changes how the team behaves. Now Iris becomes one of our main sources of pressure, and Iris doesn't necessarily need to immediately destroy the enemy. Give her time to work, and the damage begins accumulating. Tempus helps us manipulate the rhythm of the battle while providing another element the enemy needs to deal with. Electra continues creating disruption. Guus helps maintain the structure around them. And Aidan provides the sustain that allows Iris and Tempus to continue doing their jobs. This is why I like this team offensively. We're not asking one hero to do absolutely everything. The opponent needs to deal with disruption, sustain, and continuous damage simultaneously. And once Iris gets enough room to operate, the enemy's defensive structure can begin falling apart very quickly. Our third battle brings us to Satori, Byrna, Tempus, Folio, and Phobos. This is probably one of the most interesting compositions in today's video because of how many different threats are working simultaneously. Satori immediately demands respect. If you allow him to establish his mechanics and reach the correct moments in the battle, he can completely punish the opposing team. But you can't simply build everything around stopping Satori, because Folio is also there. And that's what I really like. Two serious offensive threats create a much more complicated decision for the opponent. Then Phobos adds another layer of control and interference. Tempus contributes to the tempo and control of the fight, and Byrna helps support this magical structure. Watch the battle develop rather than focusing exclusively on the final damage numbers. Look at when the enemy begins losing control. That's what makes this composition interesting. Different heroes are creating different problems, until eventually there are simply too many problems to solve at the same time. Now let's move into team number 4, Cleaver, Kayla, Peech, Kendle, and Aidan. This one, I think we need to keep watching very closely. Cleaver immediately gives us something very valuable on offense. Disruption. Changing enemy positioning can create opportunities for the damage dealers behind him. Then we have Kayla. Kayla wants pressure. She wants to attack. She wants to force the enemy into reacting to her. But while the opponent is worrying about Kayla, Kendle is still working. And this is where having multiple offensive threats becomes so useful. You don't want the opponent to have one obvious problem. You want them choosing between bad options. Peech adds another interesting component to this setup, and Aidan helps hold everything together by providing the support our aggressive heroes need. But there's something extremely important to remember about this particular team. We're still testing it. Cleaver and Peech are not even operating with their complete future potential yet. So what you're watching today isn't necessarily the ceiling of this composition, and that makes this team one of the most interesting ones for us to revisit very soon. Finally, team number 5, Electra, Guus, Folio, Kendle, and Aidan. And this is another composition I really enjoy because we're bringing Folio and Kendle together. Kendle has already shown that she can become an extremely dangerous damage dealer. And with her new developments this season, we're continuing to see how far we can push her. But now add Folio. Suddenly, the enemy doesn't have the luxury of designing everything around stopping Kendle. Folio needs attention as well. Electra helps disrupt the enemy and create opportunities. Guus helps provide the structure around our offensive heroes. And Aidan once again gives us that extremely valuable sustain. What I want you to notice here is how the team distributes responsibility. Kendle doesn't need to win the battle alone. Folio doesn't need to win the battle alone. Everyone contributes toward creating the conditions where our damage dealers can do their jobs. And when those conditions are created correctly, the result can be extremely impressive. So Warriors, after looking at all 5 teams, which one is the best? And this is where I need to be very clear. These are my best attack teams right now. That does not mean they're objectively the 5 best attack teams in Hero Wars Alliance. And it definitely doesn't mean you can copy these 5 teams and expect exactly the same results. Everything you've watched today is conditioned by my account, the heroes I own, their current development, their skins, their glyphs, their talismans, their relics, and the level of investment I've made into each one. All of these things can dramatically change how a hero behaves in battle. Even the same 5 heroes can produce noticeably different results between 2 accounts if their development is different. And then, of course, there's the opponent. Attack teams are about matchups. A team that destroys one defensive composition can struggle badly against another. That's why I don't want this video to become, copy these 5 teams and you're done. That's not how we play. Use them as ideas. Study the interactions. Look at the synergies, understand why certain heroes are working together, and then adapt those ideas to the heroes and resources available on your own account. There's also another reason why today's list can change. Cleaver and Peech. We're still testing both heroes without relics, and Cleaver is also still waiting for his new skin. That means we're evaluating heroes who haven't even reached the additional potential we already know is coming. Relics can change performance considerably. A new skin can change priorities, survivability, damage, and even how certain matchups behave. So once those upgrades arrive, we test again. And perhaps some of these teams become even stronger. Perhaps new combinations appear. Or perhaps something we currently consider excellent gets replaced entirely. That's the fun part. The meta doesn't stand still, and neither does our testing. So use these 5 teams as examples of what's currently working extremely well for me, with my heroes, at my development level, and based on my personal testing experience. And now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 5 teams impressed you the most? And more importantly, what is your best attack team right now? Leave the full 5-hero lineup in the comments. I want to see what the community is using, because sometimes the most interesting team ideas don't come from the obvious meta compositions. They come from players testing something different. If you enjoyed this type of video and want to see more of my current attack teams as the season develops, leave a like and subscribe to Gods of Alliance, because with new relics, new skins, new talismans, and more testing coming, this list definitely isn't finished. Warriors. This is how we play the game. Not randomly, not blindly, with knowledge, with precision, with control. We don't build randomly. We build with intention. Master the mechanics. Control the fight. Let's break the game together.